Okay, you guys knew this was coming, and today we're going to talk about Shanks and Mihawk, one of our favorite topics in the community, believe it or not. As much as people like to downplay it and say they don't want to talk about this, it's inherently a part of the story, and this is on purpose.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Have y'all ever actually wondered what it would be like to actually live life under sea? The Straw Hats are lucky to have someone like Frankie who built a fully working kitchen, bathroom, and even an aquarium bar. I'm sure the Straw Hats don't pay bills on the ship, so even if you were out at sea, you'd have a lot of finances to think about. What happens if you're short on berries this month? Well, it would be great to have today's sponsor, Dave. Dave is a banking app on a mission to build the best possible products to level the financial playing field. You can get paid up to 2 days early and get up to $500 in advances, but why do so many members choose to bank with Dave? Well, there's a lot of anxiety and stress that comes with certain expenses, and traditional cash advances just make those feelings worse. And what Dave is the enemy to that feeling of, how am I going to pay for this? Get and spend up to $500 and build credit just by paying the money back on time. No interest, no credit check. When you get a cash advance from Dave, it's like getting your own money from the future. Dave is the ultimate antidote to that summer feeling of missing out, and it alleviates the anxiety of needing money before payday. And look, I remember being in a pinch for cash many times before for groceries or gas and things like that, and I truly wish I had Dave there to back me up. All you need to get Dave going is a mobile device with access to the internet on either Apple iOS 10.3 or higher, or Android 4.1 or higher. And you must have a valid email address and sufficient storage space on your mobile device. So download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's D-A-V-E. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Your future will thank you. So start banking better and sign up with Dave today at dave.com/B.D.A. But I did something. Yeah, I did something. I made a poll. Made a couple polls, actually, several polls, just to understand and see what are people feeling after One Piece Chapter 1058. And of course, per usual, spoiler alert for people who have not read it, you 7 people out there, but I just want to make sure that you guys are okay. Of course, manga readers. For anime onlys, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. Either way, Shanks and Mihawk, a topic that's been dragged to death. But the thing is, I don't like when the fans and the community gets a bad name because they're talking about it. This is literally all set up by Oda and the story. These two are meant to be discussed together, against each other, damn near. It's like the Lakers and the Celtics. Shanks and Mihawk, I don't think their rivalry or discussing Shanks and Mihawk is as toxic as Zoro and Sanji because they both have bigger fan bases. However, people are just as passionate about Shanks and Mihawk as they are about Zoro and Sanji. We gotta go all the way back to the beginning of this, right? And I'm not gonna tell you guys the poll results yet, but we got a definitive answer after chapter 1058 as to who do we think is stronger. 30,000 people voted, and they've come to the conclusion based on that. But it was almost a very interesting psychology experiment. Why do people choose sides? Why do humans choose sides? According to Hogg and Janice Adelman, people are motivated to reduce as much uncertainty about their lives and identity as they can. One way to do this is to identify with and become involved in a group. People also take sides so they can start to do and say what the others in the group do for approval and acceptance. So you come into the community. One of the questions that you're going to be asked in the One Piece community, of course Zoro or Sanji, but then you probably are followed up with Mihawk or Shanks, and that's intentional in the story. Here's what Oda does. We get Shanks. He gets introduced. He's an amazing guy, right? Handsome, dashing young man. And then he influences Luffy to the point that he wants to become a pirate. He's molded our main character. Okay, cool. A couple arcs later, we're introduced to somewhat of a bounty hunter because Mihawk was chasing after Don Creek, and we come to find out this man is the world's greatest swordsman. The nuance on that has been dissected so much, you have to be very clear. World's greatest, world's strongest. There is not much nuance in regards to Mihawk's title. He is simply the best, right? You can spin it in any which way, he's simply the best. So then we do that. Fast forward, Mihawk is taking Luffy's bounty to Shanks. Why? Well, Shanks and Mihawk, they had such a good relationship that Shanks told Mihawk about Luffy. And here's the difficult thing, especially after chapter 1058, it's clear that Mihawk does not trust many people. he clearly trusts Shanks to some degree. Because when he pulled up on Shanks to show him Luffy's bounty, he ended up sitting and drinking with him. Now, here's the thing. Early on in the narrative, with Mihawk doing this, before this point, there's interesting dialogue happening within the story, where Zoro and Mihawk talk about becoming the world's greatest swordsman. Zoro makes a vow to never lose again until he becomes the world's greatest swordsman. Kinda cap. Either way, he made that vow. Mihawk said that that's even more difficult than what Zoro's trying to do. If we go by the Viz translations, Mihawk says, you tread a perilous path. It's even more perilous than trying to surpass me. Now, Mihawk is saying that knowing the context of the situation, understanding what it takes to be a Yonko, because again in chapter 1058, he says, I have no interest in that. Because being a Yonko, this confirms that you always have a target on your head, target on your back at least. And for a swordsman, a scar on the back is a swordsman's. Anyway, this is not something that Mihawk is interested in. But either way, to some people, that's Mihawk confirming that Yonko, Shanks, is stronger than regular swordsman, but the best in Mihawk. But here's where things get tricky. They're both swordsmen. Mihawk is the best swordsman, but Shanks is a Yonko. And now we have more knowledge, way more knowledge about the Yonko and what they entail. It's not solely about strength, but strength is very important. So, going off the story and the narrative, Mihawk is the world's best swordsman, world's strongest swordsman, however you want to slice it and dice it, pun intended. And Shanks himself is a swordsman, now he's missing an arm. Something I left out intentionally is when Mihawk pulled up on Shanks, Shanks said, I'm not in a good mood right now, Dracula. Do you want a match? Mihawk said, no, I'm not here to challenge a one-armed man like yourself. Now, this is very important because there are things that we know now that establish this relationship. First off, Mihawk was famous during the era of Roger, while Roger was alive. Shanks, his fame came from dueling with Mihawk. I presume that Mihawk at some point, he was so famous, he was running through grown men. And here comes Shanks, a regular kid, challenging someone who was maybe not the best at the time, but well on his way. And he did such a great job that he got famous off of that. Now it continues because now it's confirmed Shanks had a billion-berry bounty by the time he met Luffy. Also confirmed is that the last time Shanks and Mihawk had a duel was damn near 12 years ago. But Shanks became a Yonko 6 years ago. So what does this mean? They haven't fought in a very long time. And if Luffy's growth rate is any, people can grow pretty quickly. Now, this is not to say Shanks has grown and Mihawk hasn't. It's just very difficult to discern who could be stronger at this point. Let's go a bit deeper then. Let's look at the SBS. And sometimes people try to parse Oda's words to figure things out. Well, in SBS volume 73, the question was, hey Oda, in all of these fight scenes, why doesn't anyone go for the men's groins? Their balls, their dick. Doesn't that seem like the quickest path to victory? Why are weirdos always chosen to ask these questions? Either way, Oda responds to this question, obviously, because this is a very important question. He says, true, that is a vital area. But just imagine legends among men, Whitebeard, Shanks, Mihawk, staring each other down, bearing their weighty ideals, and trying to whack each other in the balls. Is that the kind of manga you want to read? So, off of this statement, people said Mihawk was included in the same context with Shanks and Whitebeard. That is not a coincidence. To a lot of people, you're like, well, I still gotta see something. They go back to Marineford, where Mihawk said, I want to measure the distance between myself and that man. That translation has been dissected so many times, and the context in how it's read does not necessarily mean how it actually came off. It made it seem like Mihawk has never bested a Yonko. He was just like wanting to see how strong this man was because he was so far behind. But now understanding Mihawk and how much he respects strength, this was just a chin check. Let's see how far you are, because it almost seemed like Mihawk was testing Whitebeard because he felt like the distance was not great as the world would want you to believe. He sensed it because Mihawk, again, one of his epithets, he's known as being clairvoyant, and that goes with observation haki. So him sensing that is not far-fetched, and also the breath of all things is something where you cut where you want to cut. So Jozu jumping in the way, you could argue that he did not plan on cutting Diamond, so therefore Diamond was not cut. You cut what you would like to cut. Either way, all these things are building against Mihawk, even though what's still in place? World's strongest swordsman, world's greatest swordsman, world's best swordsman. Say it with me now. However you want to slice it and dice it, he's still the best. While Shanks has lost an arm, Mihawk is still the best. So let's jump forward to chapter 1058. Well, before that, we have to go to the Rivalry cards. The Rivalry card data books are information cards approved by Oda, and so they should be regarded as canon, and any contradictions will be corrected. But when they come out, they are regarded as canon material. So if you only read the manga, again, there's so much that you're missing out. SBSs, Rivalry cards. Here's what it says on Mihawk's Rivalry card. He's the world's strongest swordsman, who sits at the top, the strongest of all swordsmen. Mihawk became famous before the Great Pirate Era even started. He trained relentlessly for many years, challenging more and more powerful foes until he had no more worthy challengers. Because of that, he became a warlord. After Roger's death, despite having no crew, he spends most of his time sailing for fun. Originally, his epithet was going to be clairvoyant. He looks forward to the day a swordsmaster will emerge to surpass even his rival, red-haired Shanks, which could be interpreted as he's trying to find someone that can be stronger than Shanks, because it could either be Mihawk is slightly stronger, or right now it's a stalemate, where obviously they can't fight anymore because Shanks has one arm. And of course, he's confirmed as both an armament and observation hockey user. Here are a couple more things that are going for Mihawk. Zoro. Zoro is a confirmed Conqueror's Hockey user. Not only Conqueror's Hockey, advanced Conqueror's Hockey user. Confirmed. So with that, I think more than likely Mihawk has it as well. He seems to be one of one. And again, with his epithet originally going to be clairvoyant, I'm led to believe that he has immense observation hockey. But we did find out some things about Shanks recently. Well, Shanks can do hockey-talkie, where he can do drive-by hockey strikes using Conquerors. And also with Shanks, spoiler alert for Film Red and Volume 4 Billion, Shanks has the ability, in some way, he can disable Future Sight. So I'm assuming if Mihawk has insane Future Sight, by fighting Mihawk for that many years or that many times, Shanks has unlocked the ability to disable your Future Sight. The meme right now with Shanks and Mihawk, it is as strong as ever, where Mihawk is going to fight Shanks and says, please, please, for God's sakes, turn off your hockey. But again, chapter 1058 is here. And here are a few things we know about Mihawk. It is confirmed and blatantly clear now, if it wasn't clear before, Mihawk is the better swordsman of the two between him and Shanks, based on what the Marines know. Secondly, he has a 3,500,000,000 berry bounty and some change. And again, he has a higher bounty than the leader of that organization. So we can't say organization carrying, no. His bounty was frozen because, again, another epithet he had was he was a Marine hunter. So the danger was there, and they are literally paying him to stop beating their ass. That's what they did. So with that being said, where are we now? That brings us to the poll. We're gonna use the poll on YouTube because that's where 30,000 people voted and they came to a conclusion. At this point, and honestly, it's shocking, it is 78% in Shanks' favor to 22% in Mihawk's favor. But then I go to the comments because I'm confused as to how is the disparity so great when all these things point to Mihawk being clearly on the level of Shanks, but he's the better swordsman. He more than likely has all the tools to combat Shanks. Why is it such a disparity? The comments told me everything I needed to know, and this was on purpose, right? I did not put an equal option on purpose. I'm going to force you to pick a side. You have to choose one. Most people in the comments were saying, I believe that they're probably equal, but I like Shanks more. There's your answer, folks. The reason why the disparity is so great in the community in regards to Shanks versus Mihawk, even though Mihawk has a very stout resume on his own, is because people like Shanks more, and they look somewhat towards the narrative of Yonko and the weight that title holds, even though I think it's a bit misleading. Someone even said, my money's on Shanks, but my heart is on Mihawk. What the fuck does that mean? I didn't even mention the greatest caveat in this whole debate. The freaking subscribe button. Oh my God, you knew it was coming. You weren't sure, you kept trying to guess. There it is. People watch the videos, they think they're subscribed, they're not. Look down, make sure you are. If you are, appreciate you, drop a like. And now seriously, the greatest caveat in all of this is that people don't view Shanks as a true swordsman. So you may be asking me, Brago, what is the difference between a true swordsman and a regular swordsman? Well, this is built into the story, where typically the true swordsmen are people who care about the swordsman title, who care about the wear of the blade, and people that are just swordsmen, they don't care about that. And that's part of the narrative, and even King feeds into that, saying, I just use a sword, I'm not a swordsman. So that's not something that's a foreign concept, but I think all of this is on purpose, people. Oda loves this discussion. That's why we had a chapter where Shanks made an admiral freeze in his tracks, drive-by hockey-talkie, so much hype, an entire film, and literally in a couple chapters, he has someone say Mihawk is better than Red Hair in regards to swordsmanship, even though he's a swordsman. This back and forth drives conversation and honestly drives sales. Nothing drives sales more than rivalry. That's why they have left Twix and right Twix. And for the idiots that participated in that whole fiasco, dishonor on your whole family. Say it with me, Cricket. Coke versus Pepsi. They're all cultivated for people to pick sides because people want to feel like they're part of a group, and then they start adopting certain things that their group says. And again, you want to strip away as many uncertainties about your identity as possible. And it's the same for the One Piece community because we are all human. Human nature is gonna human nature. So what is the conclusion? As of right now, most of the community thinks that Shanks is the strongest, and I'm kind of with them. I'm literally on the fence. I don't know what to do. And I think this is the perfect quandary, and Oda's a genius for getting me in this position where all the evidence and facts point towards Mihawk being stronger. But my heart and narratively how I view the Yonko and hype Shanks has, the story makes me feel like I have to pick Shanks. But the quandary is what Oda wants, and I think it's been masterful. But guys, give me your thoughts. Who are you picking? Mihawk or Shanks? No equals shit, Mihawk or Shanks. Now's the time. You can only choose one.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.